What do I typically look at for returns when passively investing? It doesn't really matter the returns because there's a checklist that I go through. Who are the operators? How do I know them? Do I have a personal relationship with them? And how open and receptive are they to my questions? What is their operational track record? Do the numbers make sense? Can I follow the data? I just invested in Skyscraper, the Pittsfield building downtown. And the only reason I did that is because the operator was a great dude, huge network, high net worth, and he's looking to purchase more skyscrapers. Depending on the investment, it has different risk tolerances. Welcome to another episode of the Straight Up Chicago Investor Podcast. I'm your guest, RJ DeLeon, and with me, as always, are your hosts, Tom and Mark.
Man, had him 3.5 years ago. I actually went back and listened to the original episode with RJ. And it was right after you had introduced me to Who Not How, which is hilarious because that's been something we've talked about so long, but I didn't even have the book at that point, which is pretty funny.
I love having guests on, especially now that we've been doing it for so long. 3.5 years later, that's huge in a real estate investor's career. And between the mistakes they make, the wins they have, the network they grow to. And it's just so great to hear, because I did listen to the episode too, to listen to both those episodes and then hear him now. Like the growth just in the conversation is just, man, 1,000x.
We should probably do a thing where we put like those two together, right? Because we've done this a few times now, like so people can just see like, oh, if you start today, this is what you can be like. I know it's not gonna happen next month, but like this is 3 months, like 3 years. Like, can you just suck it up and this is what could happen. This is the growth you can experience if you start taking action.
Well, because I think now we're able to really, with the timelines like this, where it doesn't take that long. Like 3.5 years it's so funny how that can be so long if you're waiting for one thing, but in 3.5 years in an 85-year lifespan, like that's all you got to do. Put some hard work in, you get huge momentum, and then 3.5 years later, you're a totally different person.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, you want to jump into housing provider tip of the week here?
Yeah. So our house provider tip, I've been working in leasing, and the one thing I'm realizing that is when people are putting down reference numbers, whether it be for their job or for their previous landlord or their references they put on there, there's a lot of like these VUMBR numbers and Google numbers, and those should be red flags. Yeah. And I think if you don't have a way to look those up, for us, we use Forewarn. If you're a realtor out there, you should have access to Forewarn for free, but you could also buy it. But you put a number in there, and if it comes up with nothing on it, usually that's a red flag that's not an official number. So if someone's giving you their boss number, more than likely that boss doesn't have a Google number for their official number, or the landlord might have a Google number, but you should at least take it another layer deeper and ask questions. So Forewarn's one service you could use. There's Spooky You or whatever. There's plenty of different services you could use for $9.99 a month to look those up. So
yeah, we've also just checking, usually on the pay stub, it'll have the corporate number or the main, like you should be able to just do the due diligence of finding it.
Yeah, if people are working on living in an apartment complex, it definitely should not be a number that doesn't end usually in 000 or something like that. So go match it up with the website and double check that.
So, all right, good deal. Let's jump in. So our guest threw before we jump into the intro here though, threw an excellent party last night. We're recording this in mid-September. Just so excited to see the Chicago Multifamily Group grow to 7 years. I think I've been part of it for probably 4 or 5, like, right? So it's been cool just to see the growth of it. And you've done a great job, you and Casbin, from when I first started, and Zach now. And so, yeah, just kudos to everyone there. Besides running the Chicago Multi Group, also running EJC Partners, NVR Capital, and now Actionable Investors. So we got a lot to talk about today. So without further ado, RJ DeLeon, welcome back.
I saw you yesterday. Come on.
In a recording situation, though, it's been 3.5 years.
Yeah, that's very true. It was great to have you out yesterday, though.
No, the event was awesome. Mark wouldn't know what he's talking about because he doesn't care about you and couldn't make the appearance. But
I apologize. I did not have 3.5 hours of travel built into my schedule yesterday, so I just couldn't make it.
No, it was a great event. Saw a lot of familiar faces, saw a lot of new faces. 7 years, man. So for those who don't know, we're talking about the Chicago Multifamily Club. When we're recording this mid-September, yesterday they just celebrated their 7-year anniversary. Jason Wagner gave a great report. You gave a great speech. It was a good night all around.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, congrats. That's huge, man.
It's,
So,
yeah.
I was saying, how are we going to catch them? If they've been around for 7 and we've been around for 4, there's no. how do we do that?
They just need to take a pause or something like that.
Yeah.
You guys have been around much longer than me, so.
So, well, the last time we had you on, so for our listeners who don't know, we had you on episode 146. That was a while ago. That was to talk about construction. The last time we told your story, we had both you and Nicky on episode 43. So this is before your son, Elliot. This is before you guys went remote. This is 3.5 years ago. A lot has happened. Back then we were talking about, you were so excited to house hack that place at Avondale. Like that's where we're at in the journey, which, we laugh at now, but like in 3.5 short years, like you've done a ton.
Yeah.
So let's unpack that, right? Like right after that, you bought a 6-unit. Start talking to us like what happened from there. We'll roll with this.
So chronologically, I guess Nicky and I were thinking about where we want to live next. We couldn't find the next house hack, so we decided to pack up and leave. I think you alluded to that we've been traveling. We've been remote. First stint was 9 months, and this time we're going to be gone for 6 months or so.
So, all right. So how much planning goes into that? And I'm not talking about like planning like, where we're going to go, but right now you have construction, you have your own properties, I guess take a step back. Tell the listeners everything you have going on right now.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. I jumped then because that's the most exciting part, right? But we do have the construction company still kicking. Nicky is still property managing or self-managing our own properties. We still have syndications with a group called Sleeping Bear, so that's about 60-something properties. And we've also raised $5 million in the past couple of years for passive investments, some being real estate, some being not.
Okay. And right now, all that's being done remotely. Like the world doesn't stop when you guys hit the road.
Oh, it was scary. It was definitely scary. But walking into GC Realty and seeing what you built, it's a similar journey, right? It's scary to let go of a lot of different things, but once you start to understand SOPs and how to build things out and let go of the reins, it gets a little bit easier.
All right, for our listeners who don't know, SOP.
Standard,
I know Mark's ready to chime in. He's a disciple of this.
Standard operating procedures. And I really wish Nicky could be with me at a lot of these things because honestly, she's the genius behind this madness that you see today.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So taking even a further step back, like how would it, this all sounds great. Like, wow. But how'd you go from, hey, I house hacked my 3-unit to now like we're raising $5 million.
Sure.
Right. Like that's a mind shift. There's a shift in your habits. There's a shift in your mindset. There's a shift in like
Your network.
everything. Yeah. Like that's a big jump.
That's a great question because a lot of gurus, they say it's so easy, but you got to unpack the entire journey. And we do that a lot too. So going on the Chicago Multifamily Club, 7 years, 7,000 members. I literally had a property for 1 month when we created that club. That club has helped me elevate my game to where we are today. It's great people like Mark, like you, Tom, that really just accelerate us by just showing up, adding value, and not being that same person who shows up and just asks for things.
Mm-hmm. So personally, what was the first time raising money, right? Like talk about like the first syndication.
Scary, super scary. And I actually ran away from it. So a lot of entrepreneurs are guilty of this. You see a task and you think it's so difficult that you start procrastinating and making up excuses.
Start doing anything else, right?
Anything
and whatever
else.
task you've been blowing off.
At the time, that was construction for me. So honestly, the first syndication that we ever had, I raised $25,000 for. It was $1.5 million raise. It was insane. And I was like, oh, I'm too busy with construction. Oh, it will work itself out. I'll add value in different ways, which I did. My construction company ended up doing $250,000 of work for those buildings. But it was just me being scared and procrastinating, making excuses, which I don't fault anybody that wants to do that, but you got to check yourself, you got to catch it, and you got to recognize it and self-correct.
Well, how long was that from the time of procrastinating to the time you did all this self-checking?
Probably a year or so, and it was a couple different sticking points with maybe the partnership. Hey, you didn't pull your weight. Hey, construction's not, the only way you should be adding value. And it was a lot of those things too. So when you run away from priorities, the world has way to, put you back in check.
So you said something huge there. You had partners, whether it be for anyone, partners or loved ones, when they start calling you out, there's two ways that you either show up and respond, or you run further or faster. How tough? It had to be so tough.
It was tough, and a lot of times people like to put blame on anybody else except for themselves.
Yeah.
And I have to say that was a short period. And then I thought about it and was like, yeah, there's a lot more I could have done there.
Yep. Where was the syndication?
Syndication was in Bronzeville. So we have an 18 unit out in Bronzeville. I ended up doing a lot of masonry, roofing work, turned over 5 units, a bunch of plumbing, GC stuff.
There you go. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is all, like we alluded to, you have all this going on. Whose idea was it to take off for 9 months? Did you put that in Nicky's head? Nicky put that in your head? It's a big
Did you guys
commitment.
watch a movie and you're like, let's do that?
That's just...
So here's the deal, right? You can never do anything unless everybody's on board. What we really wanted to accomplish was living in Mexico, overseas, another country for maybe 2 months. Check it out, see how it feels. And we had 2 dogs. We just had new baby. We got a 3rd dog and realized how difficult that would be.
And this is COVID too, right?
Yeah.
COVID's still a thing.
Yeah, this was right around COVID time. And I'm a big YouTuber. I started seeing some things, putting stuff in my brain, and we scrapped the international idea. And I saw van life, and I said, hey, what about RVs? And we discussed it, and she said, if we can make a plan and it makes sense, I'm up for it. And that's what we did.
Okay. How much arm twisting was it? Up for it is oh, cool, or up for it all right, let's see if we get here.
Follow through with the idea.
Yeah, let's see.
So it's one
I'm
of those,
deferring this.
Yeah, I'm going to wait this one out, see if he gets over
it's
it.
one of those things, you got to show up. I really want to do it, so I really need to make it presentable. And maybe that was a little bit of the sales experience and just the experience of being an entrepreneur, the planning. If you can't plan something, then that plan typically doesn't come or doesn't typically get executed, right? I created a soft plan, gave her some soft costs, truck, camper, this is how much campgrounds cost, this is how much it may cost for us to live, this is how much the rentals bring in, and can we feasibly do it? And it was to that point where she loved the idea. Chicago's flatland, not much to do except for go out to restaurants. We love hiking. We love the outdoors. And we just made it happen.
Well, was price a benefit here? Was it cheaper to live abroad than it would be being stationary here?
So, yes and no. The passive income really helps. What we decided to do is medium-term rental our house hack in Avondale. And that actually ended up bringing in close to 30,000, maybe like mid 20,000 revenue that year. So it really significantly offset the cost. And because the GC company, because the property management experience, because we already had an idea of how to manage semi-remote, we just put those SOPs into place. Nicky's a genius, created a bunch of SOPs for our virtual assistants to now we rarely, answer any questions, approve guests, things like that.
There had to be some rocky learning curves there. Like you made that sound way too smooth.
Yeah,
Like,
you got to that point. Let's talk about it.
I know.
You got a horror story in there?
I'm making the mistake again of making it sound like it's all roses and butterflies, but it was a lot of long nights, a lot of arguments, a lot of why didn't you do this? What are you doing here? Did you call him yet? And, you just work through it. To be successful, you just have to persevere. A lot of the shifts that you're talking about, Tom, are significantly mindset shifts. Marriages aren't made, they're built. So, and that's exactly how partnerships are too.
Yep. What did you miss most about Chicago? I know it's good to get out, but there had to be a time when you're like, man, I need X or whatever it was.
I'm a social butterfly, so I really miss seeing guys like you. When we got back from that 9-month stint, I swear my schedule was packed up till we left again. And then apart from that, Chinatown. I really wanted to go to Chinatown last night. I was like, man, I'm just going to go home.
So what advice would you give to someone who's, thinking about doing the same thing, right? Like looking back on it and knowing, I'm assuming you're going to say, hey man, go for it. But like, what else, What are some tactical things you can say to that person who's thinking about embarking on that same journey?
So I love that you just said, hey man, go for it, because
it's the easy podcast answer.
Yeah, right? It's like, hey, just do it. Why aren't you doing it yet? But the real answer is, if you really want to do something, you have to plan. You have to look at the entire picture and try to identify if it's actually feasible. Last night at the Chicago Multifamily Club, I said being an entrepreneur is all about finding solutions. So if you really want to do something, make sure you uncover majority of the nuances, because you're never going to figure everything out, and find solutions to what you're trying to accomplish before you take the first step. And yeah.
Good stuff.
it's also a good way to prevent the ups and downs of the emotional side of things for anything you're talking about here. Like, if I know, like, if I expect things to go wrong, but I have an idea of how to solve them, when you do get punched in the face, you at least know how to get back up faster.
If you know how to, like, it's so prevalent as far as like rehabs, like what you just said there. It's like, all right, we know this issue again. Here we go.
Yeah. What
the unknown is scary.
It's actually more messed up. Where it gets me more, and you guys got to agree with me on this, is like when things are going too smooth.
Yeah,
you're like, man, nothing's gone wrong in a few days, a few hours, whatever it might be. Like,
same thing when you're underwriting a deal. Like, all right, what am I? I'm missing something here.
Anything average is too good to be true. So you're looking, you're feeling that out even deeper.
The best quote that I love that encompasses this is, things don't get easier, you just get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just get better.
Reps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we, house hacking, we syndicate the deal in Bronzeville. We go on this journey, which is awesome. Nikki's still working?
She is.
Okay, so she's still doing that and managing the properties. Like, you guys are strapped here time-wise.
Yes.
But you still have other investments going on, right? Like, you have a lot more than, let's keep going here.
And you're building a family too. Like,
son's about 2.5 years old now.
So that he falls right in that timeline. Like,
it's insane how quick they grow. So I am actually full-time child care too while we're on the road, if we don't have a daycare that can accept them. Honestly, the entrepreneurship journey is real difficult. Nicky's still working, and oftentimes we have to console each other about what's going on in our lives. You know, it's a necessary evil that she's still at her job, and she has those feelings all the time that I should be doing something else. Why am I doing this? So we constantly have those conversations of, is it the right thing? What is the next step? How can we replace your income so that we can feel comfortable? Right? The biggest thing about real estate investing that I don't think a lot of people realize is building up passive income to replace your W-2 is extremely, extremely difficult. And I think this could be a great segue into why we've gone remote and why we're raising capital now. Raising capital is a great way to diversify your investments, to take on more passive income without taking on more time or creating yourself a new job.
Yeah. And so what do you mean by taking on passive income? Like what? Walk us through. So you're getting a piece of a deal for bringing the money to the table?
Yeah, but even as an LP investor, one of the biggest points that I see for new investors is they want all the glory. You know, it's either greed, I need all the money, vanity, I need to say it, I did it myself, and I'm building this thing. Like, you know, but you got to understand that there's certain passive investments out there that can get you the same returns as buying a property, maybe not the same appreciation, but you get the cash flow and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to manage tenants. You don't have to, you know, make all the decisions, find the property management companies, everything. And as you guys know, with today's deals, you know, it's real skinny out there.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. It's you kind of alluded to there's different types of personalities or people that either become passive or not. We're raising money right now for a couple of industrial deals. And with my network, I'm like, all right, no problem. I'll make a few phone calls. But I realize my whole network's pretty damn entrepreneurial where they can't even handle being passive.
Yeah.
Like, I get it for you. Then you know, I'm going to do it for you for 5-7 years. Like, yes, exactly. He's like, I don't know if I can handle that. Like, so it's amazing how like I had to like actually dip into a different part of my network of like, all right, man, you make pretty good W-2 and let's talk about what you're not doing and what you wish you were doing. But this is how I can solve it. So it's crazy how I realized that too this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way I view it is if you have income, you have that good white collar job, and it's going to continue. It's predictable that you're still going to have more income coming in. It's a very good use. It's a very good use of your war chest, right?
Yeah.
If it's unpredictable and you don't know, meaning like your job, like if you don't know what's coming in next year, maybe you don't want to do it because it is a 5 year, 7. It's a bigger commitment, right? The returns are there. But it's not like a burr. It's not like a flip where the money comes running back to you. Like it's going to be out there for a while. So as long as you're okay, whatever you're putting up, as long as you're okay with that being gone, you know, for 5 years, 7 years, whatever it is, the principal investment. Yeah. And you trust it, and you obviously trust the operator. And the operator's got a track record. Like it's pretty good gig.
Well, I think it's for me. What I've dipped into is some of my network or a lot of my friends. It's like they've always wanted me in real estate. Yeah, I got a couple of friends that every 4 or 5 years, like, hey man, I'm still gonna get my license one day. It's like, all right, man, all right, it's fine. You're gonna stop drinking on the weekends too, right? Like, but those are the guys that, man, you got 300,000-400,000 in there because they have such good intentions and they haven't done anything else with it. It's like, all right, well, here's how I can help you. Not have to get that license and lie to me every few years.
Exactly.
Now, did you have a decent sized network just from like the Chicago multifamily group, or like was this, you know, you're raising $5 million? Like it's not 3 phone calls,
right? So this goes back to the last episode, the podcast episode, where I said integrity is everything. People watch what you do all the time, whether or not you think they're looking. So even going back from when I was a young kid, I always moved through life with integrity, being loyal, and that has followed me. So even though I don't know everybody that's out there listening, I'll randomly get a message. I actually got a message this morning from a friend in college. He moved to Japan and he said, I don't reach out enough, but I just want to let you know you've been an inspiration to me and you've made my life better. It's people like that and how you carry forward with your life that's going to help you wherever you want to go. So whether or not you think somebody's looking, act as if somebody's looking, because that integrity will carry forward tenfold. Just like Mark, your intentions, your integrity, always helping us when we call.
Yeah, I think you were that combined of what you're talking about earlier, adding value without showing up with the ask. Those two things is what's made you hugely successful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What advice would you give to, we have listeners out there probably like, man, I can't find deals, but I know I have a network. I have liquidity. I have friends who have liquidity.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to them where they might be listening to this going, oh, maybe this is my angle, right? Right. Maybe instead of trying to deal with contractors, maybe I'm the money guy. Like, it sounds great. What is some advice you would give though for someone who's got that thought in their head right now?
First and foremost, I always want to bring it back to networking. Because if you're not going to these events, you're not meeting new people, and everybody in your system, your ecosphere, is doing the same things. You already know what they're doing. There's so many amazing people out there that can elevate your game, and they're in the places that you least expect it, right? So getting out there and just making sure you continue to network. Like last night, a lot of major players came out and they said, I haven't been to one of these in years, and I can't believe how refreshing it is and how many great people I met and how many people I give my business card to and that I want to talk to. So I think that's a little bit of scapegoat there, like finding deals. That's not my angle. I can't do that. But I know people who do find deals. And those people, if I have a great rapport and relationship with them, those are the people that I'll want to build partnerships with.
Two things. One, I don't think anyone ever usually goes to these network events. This is what motivates me, is you leave there thinking, man, I wish I didn't go. I never want to go there, the drive, all that. You heard me playing earlier, but it's like, when I leave, it's like, oh man, you always make a handful of like either reacquaintances or just, they're huge. So that's something to get people to keep going out. Secondly, damn, I totally forgot secondly.
I'll leave it in, Lance. No cutting.
No, keep going.
So, all right. So that's all great. Are some of these things out of state though, right? Like some of these are syndications, like where you don't, you're not an expert at market X, right?
Right.
So is this full trust in the operator? Like I know you're probably seeing the OM, you're probably seeing these things, but talk to us about making that leap of faith too. Because now you're raising money for something, right? Into a market where, yes, the deal probably pencils. You probably trust the guy, but like you personally, you don't have a huge grasp on the market.
Yeah. This is perfect timing. I actually had somebody call me yesterday and ask me, what do I typically look at for returns when passively investing? And I said, hold on, it doesn't really matter the returns because there's a checklist that I go through. And it always starts with rapport. Who are the operators? How do I know them? Do I have a personal relationship with them? And how open and receptive are they to my questions? Then 2 down that line is, okay, I know the operators. What is their operational track record? What is their history? Is the operating plans in their wheelhouse, or is this something significantly new to them? So that's the operator, 2-part operator. Then it comes the finances, right? Do the numbers make sense? Can I follow the data and looking at it high level. You don't have to be a data geek. You don't have to be Jason Wagner. Do the numbers make sense? And high level, can I justify these numbers, what they're saying? And then the operational plan with the finances does the construction budget and operationally what you're looking to accomplish. Do those two things tie in together? And then it's your risk. My risk tolerance is different than yours, and it's different for every single deal. I just invested in Skyscraper, the Pittsfield building downtown. And the only reason I did that is because the operator was a great dude, huge network, high net worth, and he's looking to purchase more skyscrapers. How do I get into something like that? I'll invest with him, and now he picks up my phone calls. He's a great dude, really like him. And so, again, like I said, the point there is, depending on the investment, it has different risk tolerances. So I hope that answered.
No, it does. What the person who's sitting here saying, you know what, I got $100K to invest. I want to get into real estate. Should I go pony up, partner with someone so then I can learn the ropes? Thoughts on that strategy?
Yeah, that strategy works. That's how I scaled. And I love it, but you really have to get out there and put yourself out there. The worst partnerships I've ever had are with the guys that I only knew for a month. The people that I love the partnerships I'm in, I've known them for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Then all of a sudden an opportunity comes and they say, hey, why haven't we done a project together? Your kids know my kids. We've been out to a million dinners. Okay, let's do it. Now I understand how you show up day in, day out consistently when you're angry, when you're sad, when you don't want to go to work. We already understand each other in that capacity. So yeah, let's do business.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Let's take it on from the other side of the table now, taking someone else's money in a partnership, right? That's serious responsibility.
Scary.
That's the stuff that you lose sleep over, right? Like,
right.
Deal goes over budget, that sucks, but all of a sudden you're at your buddy who it's his first time investing, you're over budget, and you feel freaking terrible, right? Like that's...
Yeah.
It's crazy, the gap of feeling or care when it's your own deal by yourself versus anybody. Like
yes,
there's such a wide canyon.
If you have integrity.
That's just like...
Some people go to bed losing people's
Good, it's only
money.
half mine.
I'm like, no way. Like,
it's different to me and Chris could just laugh it off. And then if we have a partner though, it's like
I have
oh man,
people
like
that
this
have
is...
questioned like, oh man, you have all your other real estate stuff. Like if I came in on a partner, like, you focus on that stuff. I'm like, actually, man, you do not get me. I probably do far worse job on my own stuff than I do anyone else that's involved.
Yeah.
But it talks about that's a real responsibility for someone who hasn't done it before. Like
it is. And a lot of times in partnerships, you don't have total control. So that was going back to what I was saying about investors wanting the glory, the vanity, the greed. They also want control. So control what you can control and make sure you're staying on top of every single piece and aspect of the project. Also, you have to be transparent up front. A lot of our investors have been in real estate. They understand development. They understand delays. They understand surprise costs. But many of them don't.
yeah.
So when things like that happen, pick up that phone call. You got to pick up that phone call and you got to explain. If you can't explain, make sure you get them answers. Because one of the biggest things with us, we never raise capital for a deal that we don't have our own money in either. So we're being as diligent with your money as we are our money, and the relationship, the operating plan, the finances, the budget, they all have to be there, and transparency.
How big of a deal is that? Because that's when I reach out to some people for advice, and the deal that we're raising for right now, we're putting $1 million in of our partners' money on the limited side. And I kind of gloss over it. He's like, whoa, don't gloss over. That's probably one of the best selling points. Like, do you not do a deal if someone doesn't have any of their own money in it? Is that a red flag?
It tends to be a red flag, but depending on the partner, it's not always. But I would stick with it tends to be a red flag for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like if that person doesn't have skin in that game,
I know I would, if I was on the other side like that.
Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that would bother me now that I realize
Well, I'd say it depends, right? It's much different if you're raising $2 million as opposed to raising 100K or 50K. You know, it really depends.
Yeah. Going back to what you mentioned about picking up the phone, though, I forgot the exact quote, but it's like your success and your reputation will be determined by how you react when things go bad.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
Like that's how people remember. They're not remembering. I forgot we had Kirby on a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the Airbnb experience where if nothing bad happened, you know, the guest is here. If something bad happens and you respond right away, they actually have a better experience. Like they actually hold you into a higher light. I think that's so true. Like how you act in those situations is very, very important. Like do you put your head between your legs or you actually pick up the phone and make things happen?
I have a situation that's related but not related. So when I was thinking about investing in a building, the operator was calling me. And I got scared. I was like, what am I going to tell him? I don't know what to tell him. I want to invest, but I don't have the money, etc. And he'd call, and I'd say, I don't want to pick this up.
No, pick it up.
I picked
it's
it up.
not going to get better.
I picked it up, and I was fully transparent with him. I said, here's my concerns. This is where I'm at with money. That's where I'm at. And he said, thank you so much. People typically avoid these questions and don't answer my calls. And we can't work it out if I don't know what you're thinking. And we ended up rearranging the deal. And he put in some things that I was concerned about in the operating agreement, or I think it was a convertible note. And we worked it out. And I was like, holy, that was much easier.
I'll tell you this. I've never been, no one likes to have tough conversations, or no one likes to deliver bad news, or no one likes to pick up the phone when someone wants to scream at them. But at the same time, when you don't answer that phone, now you might move on to something else.
It weighs on you.
It's back there.
Yeah.
It's back there. So my motivation is more of not that I don't like the tough conversation. It's more of I don't want this to hurt my productivity. Like that's my motivation.
You're just prolonging the inevitable. Just get it done.
When you have that phone call, man, you usually like feel like awesome after that. It's such a weight off your shoulders, and that's always my motivation to deal with crap.
Yeah, the rest of the day gets a lot easier.
Yeah,
Great way to look at it.
So, all right. So you guys are going. You're embarking on another trip here. I guess. Side note: where are you going? Like, let's hear the agenda.
Well, we're already gone. I'm only in town for this week. We left July 1st, went to South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Utah, and now we're in Colorado. I'm here till the 22nd and fly back, go to Dolores, Colorado, then Albuquerque, New Mexico, because we're hosting about 30 investors for a commercial build out that we did in Albuquerque.
Oh, cool. Talk to us about it. How do you come across a build out in Albuquerque?
Yeah, so that one's the Cannabis deal.
Okay.
So it's a little off of real estate, but when real estate was getting real tough and prices and interest rates and returns weren't penciling out, we didn't shy away from conversations when people brought us opportunities. We connected with the largest commercial producer of cannabis in the state of Arizona. They're a multi-state operator. Conservatively, we could say their operations are worth 120 to 150 million. And we were so impressed with them when we invested. We said, hey, if there's an opportunity, we'd love to throw our hat in the ring. And with the news of rescheduling and all of that for cannabis, we're looking at big wins for our investors there.
Yeah. What does that look like on, how do you underwrite that? Right, like you understand their operation, but like comparing it to underwriting, a 12-unit building, like what's the underwriting process?
Yeah.
Oh man, that literally I'm still learning something every single day. And when you were talking about if things go sideways, how are you a steward of somebody else's money? I've put over 100, 200, maybe even 300 hours of education into cannabis, countless hours of podcasts.
Podcasts?
Yes,
There you go.
podcasts. Yeah, there's podcasts out there. Anything you want to learn, I mean, there's podcasts out there. So I've gone to MJ BizCon, Cannabis's largest conference in the world, and I've told people who I'm with, what we're doing, everything checked out. So everything checked out. But to your point, everything started with the relationship. The guy who put us in contact, I've known for over a decade, and he was my corporate best friend. I actually got him into real estate, and he's one of the only people from my last corporate job that I stay in contact with. So that trust, that relationship, the main operator is his best friend. They roomed together in college. They ate dinner at each other's houses in third grade. They've been best friends. He was best man at his wedding. So a lot of it is trust, and a lot of it's just putting in the grind and educating yourself.
Where do you go from here now? Right? Like what's the next year, 2 years, 3 years? It's 3.5 years since the last time you were on.
Yes.
We're interviewing in 2028 or whatever that is. What's the story?
Perfect segue for a mindless plug.
Oh, do it.
So, creating the Chicago Multifamily Club, I realized how important it is to have community, to have subject matter experts, to have people that you could call on anytime, have that relationship with them, because investing's a super lonely journey if you make it one. But it could be a super community-based, family-like environment if you make it one. So we are creating a new community. It's called the Actionable Investor, and our tagline's where you'll never feel alone when you invest, because it's going to be an interactive community where you get real-time virtual support. It's community-based. I'm not a mentor. I'm not going to be like, I'm a guru, make $1 million with me. No, it's going to be 100% community-based. And that's what I'm looking to do. It is going to be a paid subscription.
Talk to us a little more though. Someone's interested. Give us a little more details if you're cool with it.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm looking to invest. The benefit of this is I can go on some chat. Like what are.
Well,
lay some of these on us.
The one thing that I always encourage people to do is reach out to me, and that's one thing people never do. I think you guys can test that. You give out your number, expect a call. They never call unless they're in trouble. So the best way to learn about this is go to nbrcapital.us. We'll have a lot of information coming soon. You could always reach out to me, RJ DeLeon, on all the socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Just reach out. Be part of the community, and reach out before you get yourself in trouble.
Good stuff. Mark, anything else?
No, nothing else, man. That's awesome.
All right, we good to wrap here?
We're good to wrap.
I see you pulling up your phone, so I know you got to look up the questions.
Not the questions. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're not.
I've done them twice. You want to do it the third time?
Oh,
You're
yeah,
a different
things
person than you were
change.
3.5 years ago. For
I
sure.
totally forgot them anyway.
All right. So, what's your competitive advantage? How have you been able to do all this in the last 3.5 years while others, man, wish they could accomplish half this?
Yeah. So it starts with integrity, making sure you build off all your life experiences and make sure however you act like somebody's watching because somebody always is. So it's a play off that, integrity, honesty, building up relationships, and just being authentic.
All right. What is one piece of advice you would tell someone that is yet to buy their first investment or make their first investment?
We just said it. Make sure you reach out early. Start building your teams early. Start putting yourself out in the community before you make mistakes. Because, Mark, you said this in our last podcast episode where a lot of people call you and they made a huge mistake and numbers don't make sense and there's nothing we could really do to help them.
Yeah. I think we need to get someone on here who was investing in like 06 and just talk about there's no bigger pockets. There's no podcast, no
wow.
YouTube, there's just so much good information out there. People will pick up the phone for you. Like, it's insane.
For sure. I used to knock on doors trying to get people to give me advice. And they wouldn't.
We have it so easy. No one has that reference point.
Because think about this. In 2004 or 5, people that are 20 years older than you didn't even have cell phones yet. If you think about it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So.
All right. What did you do for fun? I can't screw that one up.
Oh, man.
Stop laughing.
Hiking. We love going outdoors. Last 3 years ago is fishing. Still love fishing. On the West Coast, I can't fish how I fish. I fish big game. It's all fly fishing out there. But Nicky and I have picked up bike riding. It can't be mountain biking because Elliot's on the back, but
That'd be responsible, yes.
So we take out our bikes. We do 6-mile bike rides all the time. We do 3-mile hikes all the time. Elliot is quite the hiker.
There you go.
Insane. He scales trees, scales mountains. He's insane.
Sleeps well at night then. That's the most important part.
Exactly.
So, all right. Give us a good book, podcast, or self-development activity you'd recommend to our listeners.
So I just read this, The Go-Giver, and it encompasses everything that we've literally just been talking about. The Go-Giver is a great book. I'm reading Go-Giver Marriage
There's
now.
a bunch of them. His parents. I got those in my queue.
There's so many of them, but that premise, Nicky actually just wrote an excerpt in a book. She's going to be a published author, and it was about giving and how giving has so many benefits and will come back tenfold.
It's a great book. Great book. All right. Besides yourself, name someone in your network that's be a valuable resource to other Chicago investors.
Oh, all right. I'm going to say Sarita. I don't know her.
Chaparral.
Sarita Chaparral. She's a great pillar of the community. I think she does a lot with you guys. She hosts her own meetup as well. You got to look for people that are constantly putting themselves out there because they typically have integrity, but they also have a lot to lose. You can't be a pillar of the community and then screw somebody over and,
Yeah, you're donezo.
come to work the next day, I guess.
So, anyone interested, check out the Straight Up Cerritos sales team. We have them on our website. All right. RJ, thank you so much. As usual, you provide a ton of value. How can people learn more about you? Is there any way they can provide value to you?
Absolutely. Going back on the last podcast, just have conversations with me. You don't have to add value. Adding value is just being you, being open, honest, and just having a conversation with me. Reach out when you say you're going to. You could reach me through Facebook, RJ DeLeon, Instagram, LinkedIn, again, RJ DeLeon, and nvrcapital.us. It's not .com, .us. All our big stuff coming down the pipe is going to be on that website.
All right, good stuff. We will, Lance will link to all that in the show notes. All right, Mark, Chicago Fact, who are we playing for? Who's sponsoring?
All right, today's sponsor, Kaiser Group, and we're playing for Hannah Mikovich that left a 5-star review on iTunes. So, Hannah, if myself or RJ gets this right, you get a $50 gift card brought to you by Kaiser Group.
All right, and we've had a lot of recent people reaching out. So if you've just found us in the last 30, 60, 90 days, please do leave that review. We don't ask for it enough. It does help us. So please, we appreciate it. All right, I meant to ask you this, Mark, before we started. Did you go to Addison Trail or did you go to
Addison Trail?
All right, cool. And I know our guest here went to Hinsdale South.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys were in the West Suburban Conference together.
Yeah.
All right, so putting 2 and 2 together. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 teams in that conference. Can you name, what's a fair number, 9?
Well, it's West Suburban Gold and West Suburban Silver.
Yes, correct.
So that would both of those. So you have Glenbard West, obviously Addison Trail, Willowbrook,
We had 3.
Lyons Township, Downers Grove South,
Oh, we need RJ to say something.
Wheaton
though.
North.
York? I don't know. Hannah, I'm sorry. And is it Marco from last time that we screwed up too?
No, you still got some, Harry.
Sorry.
You still got some.
You said so. Hinsdale South, Downers South,
Is Central on that list?
Lombard West. We
Hinsdale
said.
Central is on the list.
Nice.
There, you
Central.
participated.
All right.
Then come up a little bit more, a little further north.
Oh, Park River Forest.
Yeah.
Is in there. Proviso
Shannon Brown.
East.
Yep.
How do you know all this?
And if Proviso East is in there, so is.
I remember our big football games. That's what I remember.
If Proviso East was in there, so was.
Proviso West was on the
West.
other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many am I naming?
I think you got it.
said
You didn't get
9.
the Lyon, Morton High, and
I didn't name Morton.
Downers
Oh,
Grove.
I didn't. I totally forgot.
Downers Grove North, but I think.
I said
so,
South.
So you
yeah.
said 10.
All
10
right.
of
I
the
know. I said
13.
Hell yeah, dude.
Ooh, nicely done.
Oh, thanks for pulling the weight. I didn't want to be that guy who didn't make it again.
All right. Well, Hannah, you got your $50 gift card brought to you by Kaiser Group. Thanks to not RJ. So
I heard a Hinsdale Central out of him.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's where you went to school, right?
No,
I went to South.
I went to South.
Oh, okay.
I went to South.
He had 2 of them, yeah.
Okay, so you're good.
That's what put you over. Without those 2, you're under.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Ooh, I made it.
80-20 rule.
I
I'm
made
in.
a
So-
difference.
All right, awesome. Well, RJ, thank you for coming on again. It's awesome. Tom, thank you as always. Listeners, leave us a review, as Tom was saying, and you get entered into the hat to participate in the Chicago Fact, where you can get a $50 gift card. So, and we'll announce your name on here if you want the fame part of the show.
There
So,
you go.
Can I do one more mindless plug?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I forgot.
It's a freaking podcast.
I have the actionable mindset podcast. I just rebranded from Mindset Matters. And, I just talk about a lot of mindset. And Tom, you were on the show.
Yep.
Mark, I don't know if you got to be on the show. We got to get you on there.
All right.
So.
I'll look for that invite. I'm ready. So, all right, RJ, thank you. Tom, thank you. And listeners, we'll see you next week.
Thanks all.
See ya.